Hey y'all, it's Allie from Greenwich Mystics, and today I'm going to show you how to make a fidget spinning pendant. Check out the description down below for material information and where to find me on social media. This concept can work for almost all sphere sizes, except for obviously large ones. So depending on the thickness of your sphere will depend on how many wires you need, but for this project I'm using 4. I'm using 22 gauge half round wire, but you can use round wire. I usually don't cut my wires the same length, and I like to make my bail wires not the front or the back, but kind of in the middle, and since there's 4, it can't really work out perfectly in the middle. So if you're going to use 4 wires, make sure one of the 2 middle ones is long enough to be the bail. And then once you're happy with the length, you'll go to snip it. When you snip it, you want to make sure that you're cutting it on the side that is going to lay flat to the stone so that it's not facing outward. And you can see here how there is one very clearly much longer wire for the bail. I never really measure my wires, I'm really bad about that, but I always make sure one of them is extra long and will be the bail. So once you have it nice and center, this next part can be a little bit difficult, but I like to kind of wrap the wire, the thin wire that I'm going to use, around kind of sloppily a couple of times and then secure it on one side. And when you do this, it just kind of loosely secures it and helps keep both sides straight, because you don't want to mix up the wires or have them go out of order like you see me here straightening these out. So definitely take your time at this part, pick apart the wires where you need to, get your flat nose pliers when you need them, and just pay very close attention to which wires you're putting over what and making sure that you're not overlapping, underlapping, or do anything weird, which is pretty easy with wire wrapping. Now I am finally centered and straightened out, and I can proceed with the bail making. There's lots of different ways that you can make a bail and do like a weaved bail. This is really just going to depend on what wire you're using to weave with. So you can use half round wire and just make one big thick bail, or you can use thinner round wire and just weave it. So about halfway through, when you want to descend, I always like to add an extra loop around and kind of pre-pinch it beforehand to make sure that both wires are even and one side isn't going to be like wonkier than the other. So once you're happy with the length of the bail, you can just snip off at the bottom and secure it to the side. And then you'll want to move all the other little arms out of the way so that you can pinch this bail down. And just make it nice and snug in that little nook. I like to use my fingers for this initial first pinch, but you can use your pliers and you can be super precise and get like a Sharpie and mark it evenly, but I just use my fingers. And we are just going to pinch about 1/3 of the way down, if not about halfway down. And this can either be the front or the back, depending on which way you pinch first, but it's not really going to matter. And something that you definitely want to do and keep in mind is to keep that little opening right there open, because that's how we're going to secure all these extra wires at the end. And it can look a little crazy if you don't. So at this point, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to kind of get the initial shape, and you might need to kind of squish it in to make sure that it's halfway in and not jutting out too much, so that you can pinch the other side like so. And you can pinch the side, the top sides right here. It can kind of just help. This just helps to tighten up the frame more. And I like to do a little test, and as you can see, I'm trying to push with my thumb. It's turning white and making sure that it can still spin. So you just want to pinch the edges, both of the front and back enclosures, to ensure that the sphere is not just going to pop out. So I forgot to film this part, but the 2 end wires for the bail, I just wrapped around each other, as you can see. And we're just going to pinch those, clip those off, and secure those on the side. And I'm just going with the micro pliers to make sure that everything is nice and snug and isn't going to get snagged. So the way you can finish it off can be different and unique to you, but this is how I'm going to finish it off, and I sometimes switch it up every once in a while, but we're just going to pick a side and swoop to it. And I like to bring it all the way around for this first one. Make a nice little circle. And then we're just gonna follow and frame all the other ones around that. And I'm just gonna freestyle with this little guy and bring him up here. And I'm just gonna secure that inside the bail. Now here's where the part where keeping that back end open is important. This is how we secure all of these wires. That one probably could have been cut a little bit shorter, but you're gonna clip it and kind of hook it and flatten it on whatever side it's on. And you can do this on both sides, so if you have wires kind of flowing on both sides, you can, you know, do the same thing. So yeah, you'll just snip it and then close it. Snip it and shed it. And just want to check the front every once in a while to make sure that it looks right and it's flowing okay and you're not over tightening it or under tightening anything. And we're just going to do that for the rest of them. And that's it. Ta-da! So a few extra tips. Sometimes squared wire can be a little bit easier to use if you're a beginner. If your sphere keeps popping out, you want to make sure that you're using a thick enough gauge or a hard enough gauge, so make sure it's half hard instead of dead soft. And pinch the upper portion to make sure that it's nice and snug at the top. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please leave any additional questions or comments down below. Follow my links in the description. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!